Hello and welcome back to Born and Raised in Prescot, and happy Christmas to you and happy New Year. There's something different for you today. We're with a load of people who make a big noise in Prescot. These are making a big noise in Prescot. I call it Twang Town because you never see these people, but you hear the sound of them. And I put a video up just before Christmas, which was of the Prescot BELLRINGERS ringing the hearts out on Christmas Eve. And hundreds of people got in contact with me, and they, from all around the world, just loved that tune, sound of the BELLRINGERS. And Alex, one of the BELLRINGERS, contacted me, and well, he left a comment, and I asked him whether he was one of the BELLRINGERS, and he said, yes, I am a BELLRINGER, but not only a BELLRINGER, he actually organises all the BELLRINGERs and stuff like that. So he's invited me to come along and find out a bit more about the Prescot BELLRINGERs, the people who ring the bells at St. Mary's Church. And bell ringing has been going on for hundreds of years at St. Mary's Church, and so we're going to see what they do and how they do this. These are people you never ever see in real life, because all you hear is the bells ringing and that's it, blah blah blah. So I've come here to find out more about the BELLRINGERS. I'm actually in the tower at St. Mary's Church now, which is the 18th century tower, which apparently has been struck by lightning 3 times and rebuilt. So this is the stairway that leads you up to the tower, which is kind of like a medieval, you can see a medieval spiral staircase going up to the tower. Yeah, you can look down there. That's it. It's not easy to get up, but it's very interesting. So we're going to go into the BELLRINGERS chamber. Catherine's taking over the having a look around. So we're going to go into the BELLRINGERS chamber and quietly and respectfully see how they ring the bells. Yeah.
So this is the tin can bell we've got at the moment, which runs from downstairs.
Ah, right, okay, so that's run from,
Now,
the finnies.
they're mostly the finnies, and they were all male, because it was a male.
yeah.
That was when the bells were put in.
That originally dates from 1845, is it?
In 1845 the bells were put in.
Yeah. You've got a little telly. You got a little telly.
Well, that's to when the bride comes in. because we've got to stop ringing when the dog comes in.
Oh, I see, so you can see.
It's like it's got a pulse on it at the moment.
Yeah. So that gives you the indication that she's arriving.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Isn't it?
So how long have you been bell ringing?
I got into university 10 years ago.
And I beat that bit. 1966, I was.
11 years for me.
And Lily's the same, she got into it.
Same, yeah.
We use this for teaching just because it's a miniature version of what's upstairs, using a handbell.
Yes.
There's one lesson there, I think.
But while it's here, the whole point of the way we ring it's not unique to England now, though it's mainly still an English thing. But it was developed in England. On the continent, they'll just swing bells side to side.
Oh, right.
But of course, because the bell's so heavy, you can't. It just acts as a pendulum. You can't really control the speed of it.
Okay.
So the idea of this arrangement is that by ringing it all the way upside down, you can balance it like that and actually hold it like that on the rope. I'll show you that later on the real ones. And then you can quite precisely decide when
You want, yeah.
to make it go ding.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a handy little model. But that's not changed for a good sort of 300 years plus now. So it's one of those things that
constant.
yeah. So technology's brought along things like, I mean, the top of these ropes are synthetic, for example, so they're not affected by the weather and things like that. When we go upstairs, you'll see the bells are hung in a modern steel frame and stuff like that. But in terms of the whole design idea, it's not changed in hundreds of years. Yeah, it's one of those arts that's not really, it's not died out, but it's not really advanced
Been
much either.
affected
Yeah,
that drastically.
which
yeah,
in a way
yeah,
is quite nice,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
It's wonderful that skills remain that way.
Yeah. Perhaps we'll go and... Oh, there you go, yeah.
Let me see.
That's that's a handy bit of technology there.
Yeah.
For teaching, it's great, because sometimes
Yeah.
for some people, making the connection between, even with the model,
The ropes
making the
and
connection
the
exactly between
bell.
the rope and what's going on
And what's
upstairs,
going on, yeah.
can be quite tricky. But
Yeah.
we'll go and, obviously, we can go and explore them for real.
Fantastic.
Luckily, the stairs here are pretty good by the standard. Some tower staircases.
Yeah.
Is it all of them?
Yeah, I'll
So-
put the lights on.
So originally, this room had the clock mechanism in it.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's the dials on the outside. Then, when the bells were rehung in 1994, they were dropped down into this space, and that's when this steel frame dates from. So because they lowered them down, it means the tower wobbles less. And it still does a little bit.
Yeah.
You can feel it ever so slightly rocking with the motion of the bells, and then the clock went to up above,
Yeah.
behind the dials.
So it doesn't rock too much to alarm people.
I mean, some towers do, especially very tall red brick towers. It's something to do with the mortar between
Right.
red brick towers. This, because the walls are quite chunky and it's stone, it's barely noticeable.
Yeah.
To be honest, it will definitely move a little bit, but you can't really notice it, especially because the bells are lower down.
Right. So where have you rang before then? Have you, are you from around here? or-
Sort of, and my accent's a bit of a mess. So I'm originally from Wigan.
Oh, Wigan.
Yeah.
Good.
And then I studied in London, and had some friends who rang and said, come and give it a go. You might, and I got the bug, got completely fascinated by it, and then moved back up here. And I had a connection with St. Mary's anyway, because John Taylor, the former vicar, is my godfather.
Oh,
So I knew of the
that's
church,
John
but
Taylor,
but I
yeah.
hadn't actually rang here until Leslie, one of the ringers, got in touch and said, would you be able to come and teach some new ringers, and we just ended up staying.
Wow.
But yeah, no, they're a nice bunch. And bells are nice as well.
I didn't expect such a young person to be ringing
running
bells.
out.
I've got a photograph of the bell ringers from 1930.
Yeah.
but they don't look like you.
Were they all in three-piece suits and?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all men, and they're all very stern looking. You wouldn't want to mess with them,
you
you
find
know.
a lot of those pictures. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the largest bell, what we call the tenor. Exactly why it's called the tenor and not the bass, I'm not sure.
Right.
Although interestingly, in carillons, which is where they play them on a big keyboard, so like Low House and St Helens,
Yeah.
they are called bass bells, the biggest ones. So
Right.
I don't know why, but so that's the biggest one, which weighs about a little under 3/4 of a ton.
Wow.
And then next to it here is the smallest one, which is about 1/4 of a ton. And they just get progressively bigger as you go around the room.
Right.
So they're arranged like this, so that downstairs you get that circle of the ropes with them in size order, if you see what I mean.
I see.
So you can sort of see the way the ropes fall off the wheels downstairs. That translates into a circle.
No. Oh, yeah. Just out of interest,
Yeah.
what you were playing the other day,
Yeah.
Christmas Eve, sounded very musical.
Yeah. So you can't play traditional tunes on the bells
No.
like on a carillon you can, because they have basically a big keyboard and you hit it with. But obviously because of how the bell has to swing all the way, yeah, you can't play tunes as such. We do have what ringers call methods, which are sort of like patterns. But what we were doing on Christmas Eve, we call call changes. So someone in the band, that's the group of ringers, will be appointed the conductor, it's usually me, and they'll actually change certain bells over on instruction. So say you've got 1, 2, 3, the conductor might say 2 to 3, and the order becomes 1, 3, 2. And certain combinations sound more musically pleasing than others. So yeah, on Christmas Eve I was making full use of exactly that. It was all based around a pattern we call Queens. Exactly why it's called that, I'm not sure. Some people will tell you, like, you know, Queen Elizabeth I really liked it or something. But
So it's a very old pattern of ringing bells, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's goes back to Tudor times. Or?
Yeah, I'm trying to think
16th
when it sort of
century.
developed. Yeah, it must be late 16th, early 17th. I think it started to develop.
Yeah.
Exact dates I can't remember, but yeah, I mean certainly not long after Tudor period, there were rings of bells appearing.
So does it help to have a musical knowledge to ring these bells?
No, not particularly. Well, maybe. I suppose if you've got a musical ear, maybe you'll pick out certain combinations that sound nicer than others. But you certainly don't have to be a musician to learn to ring.
No.
And you certainly don't. There's some people think there's a sort of mathematical element to what we call the methods. I suppose there kind of is. But again, you don't need to be a maths whiz either. It's
certainly about timing, though.
Yeah, some kind of sense of rhythm helps.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely the idea is for it to be nice and rhythmical.
And what about expression? Can you ring them louder than other times or not?
Sadly not.
No.
So the way they're designed, when the bell starts to, obviously it starts upside down, swings all the way through, and then what we'll do after we've been up, I'll ring one up and show you.
Yeah.
As the bell's approaching the top of its swing again, the clapper, which is hanging inside it, overtakes it, strikes the other side. The only way you can really make it quieter is you can cover the face of the clapper with a piece of leather. Right. So what we tend to do on Remembrance is cover half of the clapper with a piece of leather, so you get that kind of echo effect, because you'll get them striking on one side open, and then sort of muffled on the other side.
A bit softer on one side.
Yeah, but in terms of volume, no. Then
no.
Sadly, they're not really adjustable in that sense.
Yeah, it's just one thing that did strike my mind, because I remember these as a child.
Yeah.
Growing up in Prescot, they were rang all the time for weddings and stuff like that. But they don't seem as loud now as they did in the past.
They won't be as loud now, purely because, and you'll see when we go upstairs, so obviously they weren't, remember I said that the clock used to be in this space.
Yes.
So obviously the sound has to go up before it can get out.
Yeah, so it's not open.
Yeah, before, when we go to the next stage, you'll see the louvres on the outside of the tower, the bells were right behind them.
Yeah.
So I suppose you could say it's a disadvantage of them being lower is they're not as loud, but the big advantage of that is the sound has a chance to blend before it gets out.
Right.
If you go to some towers where the bells are right behind the louvres, depending on what side of the church you stand on, certain bells are louder than others,
Right.
and it gets a bit irritating on the ear after a while.
Right.
So luckily we don't suffer from that.
So you don't have the neighbours complaining, or maybe
Fortunately,
you do.
not. I mean, obviously,
I don't know.
we don't take the mick, and ring
No, of
all
course
the
not.
time.
No.
Luckily, because they're not that loud,
Yeah.
if we do ring for anything, unusual, then we try and be considerate of the neighbours.
Yeah.
One thing that we will try and publicise a lot is next year, because obviously this year's it's 30 years since the bells were rehung in this space.
All right.
And next year, in April, there's a day when it's the 30th anniversary of the first peal, which is like a ringing performance, if you like, was rung on the bells in this space. But it's also the reason they waited until the following year is because it'll be the 180th anniversary of the first peal on the bells, full stop.
Yeah.
Because obviously, even though they were put down here in the 90s, the bells are actually from the 1840s. So
1845.
1845, yeah, with the exception of the 6th, which is this one behind you,
Right.
which cracked just over 10 years ago. It was replaced by so this bell's about, it's the same foundry.
John was telling me about.
Yeah, but it's about 20 years younger than
It's
the
at
others.
Mears.
Mears, yeah. What
Yeah.
would become the Whitechapel Bell Foundry. So
Yeah.
these would have been cast down in London, yeah. And then-
No, they cast bells for Windsor Castle and what was it, Westminster Abbey?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. So they got quite a pedigree, haven't they? For
Yeah. So obviously the two big ones were the Whitechapel Poetry of Mears and Taylor's, and Taylor's is still going.
Mm.
It's a shame that we lost Whitechapel, really, but a lot of the craftsmen took on bits of the business, so the handbell side of it's still going, which is nice.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll head upstairs and
Fantastic.
a bit more of the history.
Okay.
While we're here, I'll just turn this muffle. Oh. There we go. It's all sort of a bit agricultural, which is probably not that far.
No.
It's definitely not exactly cutting edge tech.
No, but it's wondrous.
It's fantastic, yeah.
It is. It really is wondrous.
So I'll come out.
Do that again.
Fantastic. Tell you what I'll do. If I grab the clapper, hear it properly.
That's great.
So what we'll do, we'll close this door. They really didn't think about access when they built the tower.
No. So this is the old.
This is the old frame, yeah. So that's the louvers I was saying about on the outside of the tower.
Yeah.
So before the 90s, they were up here. In fact, this frame's even older. I can't remember exact date. I think this frame's some point in the 18th century, so it's even older than the bells themselves, and had the previous ring of bells in it.
Right. So what do we know about the previous ring of bells? Were they the same
To be
numbers,
honest,
or
I don't know much.
not much?
I'll have to. It's something I've not really dug into. But
No.
what I can always do when we go back downstairs is there's a fantastic website which records bells, both present and historic.
Yeah.
So there may well be some information. But you can see the where they are now through the bottom here, obviously.
Yeah. It is fantastic. I just love stuff like this. So I mean, this is. I don't know if they have guided tours of the tower, but I think
it's something they're looking at doing. Yeah,
I think they should.
we need to
Small
do,
numbers.
Do small number. But
Yeah.
Heritage Open Days we open up on, but
Yeah.
we're looking at what we can do with the access to make it a bit safer, which will allow us to open up a bit more.
Yeah. church. These, what are these?
To be honest, I'm not entirely sure. I think it's part of the old chimes mechanism.
Ah,
In fact, no, it is part of it. So those are all chiming hammers. So
Oh, I
before the bells were moved, the clock struck the Westminster quarters. You know, you go to some towers and quarter of an hour you'll get dun 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 dun.
oh yes.
So that these used to do that.
Oh right.
Unfortunately, when the bells were relocated, that has a massive implication on all the mechanical connections to allow that to happen. And so
they become
they
redundant.
decided, yeah,
And not to chuck them out, which is good.
they're still here. So
I'm
yeah,
glad they haven't chucked them out.
and these are some of the wires that linked it all together. So they're still here, still all here. But the decision was made just not to put them back in. So the clock strikes the hours, as you'll have heard, but it doesn't strike the quarters, which is, I imagine the neighbours are probably quite glad of that, even though I think it's a shame.
Yeah, I do, actually.
Maybe one day we'll get round to putting it back.
Yeah. Fantastic.
We'll carry on going up if you like.
Yeah. Do you want to go first then?
Can do, yeah. Sure. Don't worry about the lights, they're all on sort of time.
Okay.
Sadly not quite as well lit up here.
Yeah.
So these are the back of the clock faces, to give you an idea of where we are in the tower.
So this is the dial house, isn't it? I think I've done a little diagram downstairs.
Yeah, so the clock used to obviously be below, and the mechanism would come all the way up through the bells to hit to this gearbox. Now it's above,
Right.
and it comes down through the pendulum case there and along.
So the clock would have been sat here rather than up there.
Well,
Is that right?
To be honest, I'm not
sure.
It would have either have been here, but I'm fairly confident this floor's new.
Oh,
Or it
yeah.
would have been where the bells are now, all the way down underneath. Traditionally, that's where it would have been, was all the way down the bottom.
Yeah. Fascinating.
In fact, I'm almost certain it was down there,
Yeah.
just because of the weight shaft stops
Yeah.
down there.
Yeah.
I've never been brave enough to... Those hatches you can take out and look through, but I've never been brave enough in case I drop it.
You don't want to be taking that out.
No.
Now, when I first came up here with Phil Irvine up to the top there to wind up the clock, and I couldn't. You know, when I was young, I suppose we're all like that when we were young, we didn't think there were bell ringers as such, you know, as children. We thought that the bells that rang out the church were connected to the clock. And so there was a special chime that you could just
switch on sort of thing.
you know, that's to do with the time and stuff.
So
we didn't realise that.
So when the, in fact...
So even when Phil was here, I was getting confused with the bell ringers and the clock, because I couldn't separate it out, you know.
Yeah. Let me just ask.
And I think...
Lydia? I'm not sure if the clock's on, it'll chime at 7. Is the clock on? Okay, can you make sure it stays on? No, just leave it. I want it to chime. Yes. Yes. So any minute now, because it's nearly 7,
yes.
we'll actually hear the clock. So the clock works just by striking the outside of the bell with a hammer.
And which is it? Is it this bell here?
No, so that's affectionately referred to as the ting tang bell or the hurry up bell. So that's just, it's not hung with a wheel.
Okay.
It's just, you can just sort of just chime it on its own. It's the 7th of the 8th change ringing bells, which is the one sort of in that corner.
Oh, I see.
You can sort of see it. You know, looking. It's the one underneath here in this corner. So any minute now. I don't know whether you'll see it or not. Yeah. So before the bells were moved, that would have actually been done by the clock mechanism. Would have lifted the hammer off and then dropped it onto the bell.
Yeah.
Now it's an electric, like an electromagnet throws the hammer towards the bell.
Fantastic.
Because of course, like we were saying, when they've moved all the mechanism, it was just
Yeah, so it doesn't go.
Doesn't go up.
Round,
No, it literally just
strikes it. Wow.
So they're not as loud when the clock's doing that as when they're
When
ringing.
they're ringing,
because the clapper hits the bell quite hard, really. In fact, you know that phrase "going like the clappers"
Yeah.
comes from bell ringing.
Yeah.
There's a few phrases like that come from bell ringing.
Yeah.
If you want, we can go up another. You can have a peek at the actual clock itself.
Were you ever a steeplejack, by the way?
I wasn't, although the term steeplekeeper does still exist, I suppose.
I'm more about steeplechaser. Were you ever a steeplechaser? I've been researching steeplechasing.
I remember seeing, when I was a kid growing up in Wigan, seeing Fred Dibner on his traction engine.
Oh, did you really? He didn't live. He lived in Bolton, didn't he?
I think he did.
Yeah, Bolton.
Annoyingly, I've not got a key with me, but the clock is here.
Yeah.
But what you can see from here is
I've seen
the inside of the spine.
Yeah. Well, I've never seen it at night. But
It's a bit spooky enough, isn't it?
and then I had all kind of assumptions about this before it came up, about there being bats here, and cobwebs and spiders and stuff. Wasn't sure, but it's quite relatively clean, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's not no wildlife here.
So traditionally, someone from the Ringers team, who we'd call a steeplekeeper, would also look after the clock, but there's a few towers, of which this is one, where the clock isn't really ours, it's the council's. So actually there is the clock is still wound by hand, which is amazing, really. But that's all looked after by the council, so that...
All right. So Phil is paid by the council to wind it up, is he?
Even though there's when the church tower was all done up with the bells, there's a supply in for an automatic, electric winding.
Yeah.
But it's still actually done by hand. So maybe one day it'll be automatic. But
Yeah.
it's a nice human touch, though.
I think so, and it's a link to the past, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is important. This is all important, and these are some more of the mechanisms.
Yeah. So I suppose in theory it could all be put
together,
or at least recreated.
Yeah.
If they wanted to, yeah.
Even in miniature form for kind of like a museum piece or something.
Yeah. Maybe one day we'll.
Should be interesting.
It's easier with the clock chime to alter the volume to make them quieter, because you can control how hard the hammer hits the bell, basically.
Oh.
So maybe one day we could put quiet Westminster chime. And of course, with the newer technology, you can stop it overnight, which is what the current one does. After 9 o'clock, it doesn't strike until 7 o'clock next morning.
All right. Fantastic.
Do you want to go all the way to the top? Or?
No, I'm okay. Honestly, I think I'm as high up now as I should be. Better go backwards.
What we'll do, we'll go back there to the belfry.
Yeah.
I'll get Lillian to ring a bell up with the horn so you can see it in action.
Okay. Right. There we go.
Are you okay to bolt the door behind you?
Yeah, I'll close that. Shall I put the bolt on it?
Sorry, say again.
Shall I put the bolt on? Or?
Yeah, you can do, just to stop it blowing.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I'll let you come past this door and then we'll go back into the... I'll tell you what, I'll go through actually.
I'm just looking at some of the Oh, you're here.
So, Lillian from downstairs is going to what we call ring up. That's to say, swing it higher and higher until it's all the way upright.
Okay.
This bell here.
Yeah.
So you can see how it all works in action. And you'll see what I mean, that once the bell's upside down, you can balance it upside down and then quite precisely control when it goes ding. All right, Lillian. Right, here we go.
So you have to build up a pace to get it.
Yeah. So at this point, the bell's still deciding how quickly it rings, in the sense that it's just a big pendulum.
Yeah.
What they're doing on each pull, she's just giving it more energy to swing higher. So that red bit there, that is the clapper. That phrase, clappers, that's where it comes from.
Is that a muffler on it?
Yeah, it's a bit primitive. It's just a chunk of motorbike tyre.
Oh, that's big.
That's the trick. There we go. So once it's upside down, we can leave it there. So there's a mechanism that allows us actually to let go of the rope altogether,
Okay.
and it'll stay there, which is what this bit of wood is.
Yeah.
Called it stay.
And so when it stays there, is that to start the process off? You get them all upside down?
Yeah. So we'll ring them all up first.
Yes.
And then at that point, we can, between pieces of ringing, what we might call a touch is the old term, we can actually set the bells, which is leaving them supported by that mechanism, so they're ready for ringing.
Right.
When we finish and we walk off, we ring them down, one for the clock for the 7th, because the clock hammer obviously is down the bottom.
Yeah.
But also because when the bells are like this, if you pull on the rope, nothing's going to happen.
No.
Whereas if the bell's like that and you go downstairs and pull on the rope and don't let go, your hands will stay on the rope until they hit the ceiling.
Right.
Because it's a bit, when people start learning, I kind of equate it to driving a car. You're in control of a machine that if you mess about, it's capable of killing you.
Yeah.
But if you just follow the instructions and you respect that, you'll be fine. But bells are the same. They're very powerful because they're so heavy.
So it's like them old comedy sketches where you see them going up into the air and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not quite like the Mars
the
bar
Russ Abbott show or whatever, whenever. I don't know, but yeah.
So that's why when we teach you to ring, we break the process down into chunks.
Right.
One, because there's a lot. It's like I say, it's like riding a bike. There's a lot of elements to it, but also to make it safe.
Yeah.
So we always leave the bells down so that just in case someone does get into the ringing room, they can't hurt themselves.
Right. But like you say, anybody can eventually learn.
Yeah.
It takes a bit of persistence and a bit.
Yeah, some people pick it up really quickly. If you've got a good understanding of the physics of it, so if you can sort of imagine what the bell's doing in your head while you're ringing, pulling the rope, that helps some people. So one of the chaps we've taught to ring, Ken, he's a physicist. That's what he does. So he clicked onto that very quickly. Other people, it takes a bit longer. Yeah, you get people with all kinds of backgrounds and sort of experiences have managed to learn to ring.
So I suppose there's that satisfaction of teamwork and learning something that's quite technically challenging.
And when you get into method ringing, which is the patterns we ring, which we might manage, if we've got the right people, we can do some of tonight. It's a very good mental stimulation, kind of like in the same way that word games are, they get your brain working. It's a similar kind of thing. And that's that, and the social side of it are two of the things I really like. Because everyone really gets on. We all support each other.
Great. And you all go for pints.
We all go for a pint.
Which helps, doesn't it?
Helps, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's fantastic.
But I think a lot of people do it because, like you said earlier, they like that idea that we're keeping a very old, very English tradition going.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that, people say that hearing church bells ringing is sort of the sound of an English town or an English village.
Yeah.
And that's part of it for a lot of people, even though I'm, like I say, I'm a bit on the sort of younger side.
Yeah.
That's part of it for me as well.
But it was fascinating. When I put that video up, I was just walking through, I'd just come out of the theatre actually. I had to walk out the theatre because the production was terrible. So it was fortunate that I did, because I had the bells ringing.
Yeah.
So, and I took that ad hoc thing, and put it on. I didn't expect much of a reaction to it because I thought people have already heard this before, but I thought I'll put it up anyway, Christmas Eve. And hundreds and hundreds of people got back to us and messaged us and said all kinds of things from Australia, from New Zealand, America, all over the globe.
It was really nice to.
It was really a nice thing, and
especially as, like I said, we do worry about the neighbours. Obviously, I mean, there's that argument of, well, you move next to a church and the bells have been here for 180 years, but we do think about the neighbours, which is why we're cautious about ringing outside the regular pattern. But even that, it was very nice to see that they're appreciated by people. But
also that you're not these faceless old gentlemen, in suits from the 1930s. You're ordinary, young people as well. That's great. And it's just it's the human face of bell ringing, because we never see you. It just happens, and you don't know who's doing it and why. But you do enjoy it, of course. But
if anyone ever wants to come up and see us in action or have a go, but it's like I say, it's generally it's a dying art. There are more bells than there are ringers now. There are a lot of silent towers, so we need all the help we can get.
So if you wanted people to recruit people, how could they contact you? Or is that possible? Is it kind of like, is it open for that? Or
I can give you my email address or something, and it's better if people get in touch before they just turn up, purely because occasionally we can't practice for whatever reason.
Yeah, of course.
Or if we've sometimes actually teaching someone on a practice night is difficult, because obviously trying to get everyone, and in the early stages is quite intensive. So what I prefer to do is one-to-one, because then I can give you people a whole hour on the end of the road.
So I'm saying, if somebody was watching this video now, I've still got to do an intro to this video, by the way. I haven't even done that yet. But someone's watching this video now, thinking, I wouldn't mind doing that. Anyone, young person, anybody wanted to do it, they could just email you, and you could
or drop me a message
arrange
on Facebook.
Not just turn up, obviously, but
I mean, obviously if people do turn up, fine. We practice every Monday. It's 7:30.
Right. Okay.
But it's difficult to guarantee on a Monday that you'll get a lot of time on the road. That's the thing when in the early stages. Whereas if we arrange a time to suit you or whoever's learning, I can give them a lot of intensive
so you
time.
Can do almost a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 or whatever, whoever's there, tutorial and little tryouts and stuff. And
because to equate it to the riding a bike thing, it's like if you imagine you're trying to teach 10 people to learn to ride a bike, but you've only got one bike, you're not going to get much time actually on it.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's a similar kind of thing.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
What I'll do, I'll just get Lillian. Lil, can you ring it back down? So she's going to ring that one back down now, so that I can take the muffle off.
Yeah.
And it's just it's just the reverse process, so taking the energy out rather than putting energy in.
Oh, right.
Here we go.
Good job. It's not going to be like a... Oh.
As the bell pulling the rope up, she'll be in a bit of resistance basically to take the energy out.
Oh, I see.
Because the bells are hung on roller bearings. Yeah. If you were to let it bring itself down, it would take 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh, I see.
There we go. So obviously it sounds a bit funny because you've got that bit of bike tyre. But it's purely because we're in here. Obviously, you wouldn't. I've got one pair of ear defenders, but not two.
Right.
But when the clapper itself is hitting the bell, it'll obviously be a lot louder than that.
So if there's any garages locally that want to drop off some tyres, you can use them, can't you?
I can't. I'll just.
Okay, that's brilliant.
But yeah, it's literally just a bit of motorbike tyre, but it does the trick.
Fantastic.
The useful thing about, because the shape though, it means it can stay on the clapper and you can just turn it through 90 degrees.
Oh yeah, and
You see what I mean?
you've got the
So you don't have to keep
full.
it, because
so
you want it to be a tight fit so it doesn't slip. But obviously then they are quite a fiddle to put on. But so when we're ringing normally, you'll be able to see it on the
but
camera.
you can turn them on and off.
Yeah, which is
Fantastic.
quite handy. So whenever we do one-to-one teaching, I will do that, and then outside you can just hear it. It sounds a bit ominous, but in fact there's a tower in Wigan that I look after, St James at Poolstock.
Yes.
Where sadly we don't have a band of ringers, but I've kept the bells sort of ringable, so every now and again the Prescot gang actually go over and ring there.
So you do the Wigan ones as well, do?
Yeah, so I look after St James's, but occasionally we'll venture over there and have a ring. So St All Saints, which is the Wigan Parish Church in the town centre, has actually quite a famous ring of bells.
Yeah.
They were cast by tailors in the 1930s when they were churning out some absolutely glorious rings of bells.
Wow.
Because obviously the way the bells sound has changed over time, both with the technology of how they cast them and tune them, but also you've got different craftsmen, even though it's the same company, you've got different people doing the job, so they sound slightly different. But at that period of 30s,
they were sort of a high class, top of the range.
So every now and again we'll go over and ring at All Saints because they're just fantastic. But interestingly though, St James's are actually the same foundry as their Mears. Well, much younger, they're from the 1890s, so they sound a bit different. And they're a lot bigger than these, about twice the size of these. But what the reason that made me think of that is because we've actually got that system fitted on all of the bells, and then a system like a sensor on the frame here that detects when the bell swings, and then a computer generates the noise, so we can practice without disturbing the neighbours. So outside you can barely hear anything, but inside we hear the sound of bells ringing.
The sound of bells. Wow.
Whereas here we just use it as a teaching tool.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, that's great, Alex.
That's right.
Shall we go down and...
Yeah, sure. We'll head back down and hopefully some of the others on the road.
Yeah. Brilliant.
At least these stairs are relatively even.
Yeah.
Some old towers are horrific.
It is like a down to a medieval dungeon, isn't it?
Some people might say that's what ringing's like.
Ringing bells in old churches. It's
Obviously this staircase is not original because the tower's 1729.
Yes.
So I'm not entirely sure. John will know when this staircase was actually sort of put in, or the treads at least.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if the original stone steps are underneath.
Right.
Did you make it?
I'm doing your job here, Kath. You're supposed to be doing the film work.
I have forgo it.
2 willing volunteers, take the 2 and the 3. Yeah.
Take some food.
We've been up already. Yeah.
What you're going to see now is not bell ringing, this is just getting ready for bell ringing, so don't major on this. This is just
We want it all. We want it all.
oh, boring bits, this sounds
Well, we
terrible.
like the boring bits.
Yeah, we're still practicing.
Historically, they're the best bits.
It's the bit that Phil, you and I saw Lillian do earlier where she rang that bell up.
So you just...
We're doing that but with 4 at the same time. But yeah, the big thing is this, as a band, it's something we're still working on, so it might not be perfect.
Oh, right.
It's quite hard. Okay, nice and close with hand strokes. Ready, go. go. It just went up a bit quick at one point. So if you hear yourself getting really close to the one behind you, just ease off and let them come above you again. But that's right.
All in favour? Go on, you'll soon get the hang of it.
What's that?
On my phone.
Oh.
Okay.
Look to, treble's going, treble's gone.
Well done. Brilliant. Absolutely amazing. So you were calling the numbers. Was it numbers?
Yeah, I was telling individual bells to change for following whichever bell they are currently following to follow a different bell. Yeah.
Right.
And therefore that changes the order of the bells.
I see.
We
So
always start off in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
yeah,
Always finish in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But in between you can have any combination you like.
I see.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So that's you give a different tune to it. And
Yeah, and there's 5,040 different combinations you can have.
really,
Yes.
really.
Really, yes.
We're going to go through each one?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. That was appeal.
That's what these
Yeah.
boards commemorate. Yeah. So
So-
next year when we
That's appeal of bells. And what's the difference? I mean, I think Phil Irvine told me there was a difference between a peal and a ring of bells. Is
so,
that-
so the terms get used interchangeably,
Oh, I see.
but strictly speaking, a peal is what you might call a performance.
I see.
So yeah, it originates when most towers were at eight bells. That was the biggest number you'd get.
Yeah.
And at the time, convention wasn't for the tenor, the biggest bell, to get involved. So the 1 to 7 would move around like Nick was doing.
Right.
And like you said, the maximum number of combinations you could have was 5,040.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's where the musical element comes into it, because it is very musical, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very sort of
Very
like
so,
you know,
but then,
it's
yeah.
all about timing as well. But there's a musicianship to it. There's a melody. Coming
Yeah, it's
through.
just not conventional, I suppose. So we were all leaving once, and someone outside the dean's house went, "Can you play us a tune?"
You get that when you go to pub.
So
Play
there's
us
a-
Jubilee,
yeah.
Jubilee
So
of
there's-
Bells.
there is a
God.
music to it, but not on Mike Oldfield. Yeah, exactly. It's just a bit different to conventional music.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. So you've got these. Where they
No,
gone?
wait.
Oh, they're
Yeah,
gone, Are you doing anything with them, or
no, so I
you
just needed
just
to
sorting
see.
them out?
We've
Okay.
got some missing, so that's the next project, is to get them restored.
Oh.
But you can do the same kind of ringing in with those, but you can play tunes on those.
Oh, right.
Anyway, so
Okay. So, what time are you here till?
we're here till 9, so
Oh,
you're
right,
welcome to
okay.
stay as long as you like. But it's up to you.
Well, what I'd like to do is, I'd like to go out and
Get some fun. Yeah.
get some footage of it
The
outside
door's
and
open.
do an end of
Yeah.
thing.
So,
So thank you
no, you're welcome.
for inviting us into your club and your enclave, and have a pint on me when you. But it's great to see, for people from Prescot, to see the bell ringers, because you don't see bell
You're
ringers.
really totally invisible.
You are totally invisible. We don't know who you are. You could be walking down the street and you're a bell ringer. Now, well,
So
we
it's
will
good
know
to
you
put
now.
a face to bells, definitely.
And it's great. And what
Really appreciate it.
what a fantastic tune!
It's really-
That video I put up on Christmas Eve went all around the world, and I got hundreds of comments, not just on Facebook, but personal comments saying that from all around, from Canada and Australia and New Zealand. They haven't heard them since they were a child, and it just took them back. On Christmas Eve, and they woke up to it on Christmas Day. It was a great thing. So
So everybody knows who
you really are appreciated. People out there love you, and now you're going to be rock stars also.
Would you
Not quite.
very much.
Don't put your hands. In fact, I'll come out and let me stand there.
absolutely amazing. Thank you.
That's all right. I'll let you go down first.
What an experience that was.
I think you realised, I was about to say, just watch your back, obviously because of the bell right just here. But
Yeah,
you worked it out just
I
in
did.
time.
I could feel the rush of air coming towards me. I did. Oh, that was brilliant. Thank you. Oh, wow. What an experience.
I think that's the other thing when people hear them ringing in town, they've got no idea of the physics of, the mechanics.
Yeah,
of
the
what's going on.
mechanics of what's going on is absolutely, well, it's tremendous. And, wow. It's brilliant.
And to think it's not changed in, a few hundred years.
Hundreds of years. Well, it's amazing. Great.
I run both.
That's great.
I'm
Thank you very
what?
much.
Right?
But then I come out like two broke peer heads.
So you do lots
peer
of
occasion.
yeah. Do you do the one in the St. Nicholas then?
Peer head, yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. Nice bells.
Yeah, they're
There's
lovely.
14 of them there.
14.
We can only bring
St.
12
Nicholas.
maximum.
Oh, but
Because there's so many,
Yeah.
giving it to extra bells gives you the right to say we can the 6, 12,
Yeah.
middle 6.
Yeah,
Get different tones out of them.
that's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing.
amazing.
Yeah. Right, is that my one? Yeah.
That's your one. So, we're going to go and let them carry on. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much. How'd you get down, Phil?
You just hold on to the rope, Kath, and
Okay.
hopefully.
Hopefully we'll make it. So I'll let you go first.
Yeah, go on. You can do it now. Go on.
Yeah.
Right. The bell ringers of old. Prescot
You need to do an
Town.
outside thing.
That's the director talking there, saying, I've been holding the camera mostly. Look at this bit of graffiti on here. Old sailing ship, the 18th century. People would often
Yeah, I noticed that on the way in.
carve sailing ships into a church
Yeah.
as a good luck talisman. If they were sailing away to a foreign country or going abroad or something,
Didn't want the ship to sink.
and they didn't want the ship to sink, carve a little image of a ship for good luck in a church.
Okay, no ropes left now,
18th
so
century now.
just a banister.
Just a banister now, Kath. Down the banister. We'll leave
I thought it was back in Benidorm.
the bell ringers to ring away, and probably draw a close to this video vlog. Yeah, wasn't that amazing? Prescot bell ringers have been ringing bells here for hundreds of years. The bells there date back to 1845, and were cast by Mears of London, who also cast the bells for Windsor Castle and Westminster Abbey. So Prescot bells are held in high esteem, and don't they make a great tune? It's fantastic. So I must thank Alex for inviting us in to the close quarters to see how they ring the bells, and that would have been something that Prescotians are ringing them now. So we're going to go outside to end this video and listen to the peal of bells outside. So thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this vlog. Do subscribe to the channel if you have, and leave a comment. Click the bell notification for notification of new videos. And thanks to Camille and Catherine, we're going to go outside now and we're going to listen to the peal of bells on this, the day before Christmas, New Year's Eve. Not quite New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve's tomorrow, but it's still 2024. So when you're watching this, it should be New Year's Day. Anyway, thanks for watching. Out with the old, in with the new. And we're going to go outside now. So here we go.
It's beautiful. Okay.
What a wondrous sound. What a wondrous sound for Prescot.